Today, I'm going to talk about Absolute Superman #1. It was supposed to come up 2 days ago, but things have been happening behind the scenes that made it very, very difficult to actually do the video. I will not get into all the details here, but I will certainly be bitching about that on the Patreon when I talk to Aaron today. I got a lot of stuff to get off my chest, but it's none of no concern here. We're just going to talk about the Absolute Superman #1, Jason Aaron, Rafa Sandoval, new interpretation of Superman. And I know you guys will be shocked to hear this. Not a big fan of this one. I think of the Absolute title so far, Batman's certainly the best. Wonder Woman, pretty okay. Superman, not very good. The thing I think that really separates Batman, especially from Wonder Woman, because I think Wonder Woman as a concept is actually much stronger than Absolute Batman. I think Absolute Wonder Woman has the best concept behind it. Absolute Batman's the one having fun with it. So, you know what? All strings are off. Let's just go nuts and have a good time with this. Whereas I think Absolute Wonder Woman and certainly Absolute Superman take themselves very, very seriously. They want to be the next Watchmen, and I don't think that's what's going to happen here. There are a few things in Superman comic books that I don't particularly like. I don't like young, edgy Superman, and this certainly tries to be that. I don't know if it's ultimately successful, but that's certainly not my type of Superman story. I dislike Krypton more than you could possibly imagine. This is how much I dislike Krypton. My favorite writer in the entire world, Robert Venditti. Always talk about how much I love him. Enjoy basically everything that he does. He wrote a book called World of Krypton. I made it through half of the first issue, and I said, I ain't ever reading that again. Not even Robert Venditti can make Krypton interesting to me, and this book is a lot of Krypton. And it certainly hints that you're going to be getting a lot more Krypton, and I'm expecting it for at least the first 6 issues. And then I don't like a lot of modernity in comic books these days, and this has a heaping helping of modernity, shockingly, from Jason Aaron, because he's got to get it off his chest about how bad things, certain things are. And you have to agree with him. I think slavery is terrible. Not exactly the most, put your balls out there on the line statement to make. Like, slavery is bad. Yes. I don't believe that it's legal anywhere in the world. In fact, it's been outlawed here in the U.S. I think, has it been 160 years since slavery and indentured servitude are completely illegal because of the 13th Amendment? It's something like that. Nobody on this entire planet can remember a day when anybody was legally a slave in America. Nobody in the world. But we're still hashing that out because I guess that's the big statement we got to make here. Do not like this comic book. Don't particularly recommend it. But you will certainly hear people out there say, this is the first Superman I ever loved. Probably because you didn't like Superman to begin with. I already saw that in the comments. Like, I really like this, and I don't ever like Superman. Yeah. That just means you don't like Superman, because this isn't Superman. But that's fine. If this is the best take that you've ever read with a Superman in a comic book, you're probably not going to like this review, because I'm going to be completely upfront with that one. If it's your Superman, that's great. But I'm a huge Superman fan, and this just doesn't do it for me. And I do think it's a pretty decent waste of what I think is a great artist. I really like Rafa Sandoval. He does some decent work here, but the coloring does him no favors whatsoever. But the first big statement, and the thing this comic book really is about, the elves of Krypton are no longer high society. They're not the scientists anymore. And the S sigil on Superman's chest no longer stands for the House of El. It stands for servitude, or the low-class labor guild. But we all know what it really stands for. It stands for slavery, because people in the labor guild are the lowest of the low. They have to do all the menial labor. They're cleaning up toilets. They're toiling through mines and all these things. And Jor-El, as always, notices that there's an impending doom going on in Krypton. He tries to speak out, but this is a much different version of Krypton. And by speaking out and being honest about the future woes of the planet, they are forced into being like diamond miners and car mechanics and stuff like that. Although I don't think mechanic is the worst job in the world. I know a lot of mechanics. They make pretty decent money, and they're really smart too. The big stand that Jason Aaron's making is slavery is bad. I'm going to shock everybody, and I'm going to put my balls out on the line. I agree. Slavery is awful. It's evil. It's indecent. It's inhumane, and it should be abolished all over the world, which it, as far as I know, is at least legal slavery. I do know that there is some illegal slavery going around the world, and I think that stuff is all disgusting, and it should be a top priority for every government worldwide. There you go. I hate slavery too. Does that mean I should write a comic book about it? Probably not. And the big changes, I guess, are in Krypton themselves, and this is maybe half the book. Maybe it's more than half the book. And like I said, I cannot stand Krypton. I understand it's an important part of Superman's origin story, that he was on a doomed planet. His parents jettisoned out there because he was in danger. You know, the Moses story that this is kind of all archetyped off of ends up taken in by an American family raised on the Kent farm, growing up to save the world and all that kind of stuff, but on Earth. But I've always found Krypton to be pretty boring. And when they decided that the destruction of Krypton was an allegory to like climate change and all the things that we do here on Earth, it made it even worse and more unbearable. There is one very, very funny moment. I don't think it's purposely funny, but it's absolutely hilarious. Everyone's got these different symbols on their chest that represent something. As I said, Jor-El obviously has the S for slavery. And this dude is like giving him a dressing down. He's like, take a good long look at my chest, then have a glance at yours. Now go march yourself upstairs and tell the diggers the League of Middle Management said to get their sorry skin sacks back down. So the dude's weird M symbol was middle management. And I thought that was hilarious. It was not the Captain America pointing at the A in Ultimates going, this doesn't stand for France, which I thought was a pretty good moment. But this was not a good moment. But that's what Krypton is. It's a caste society. I don't believe we've ever actually had a strictly caste system ever in the United States. And Jason Aaron obviously is American. I believe he's thinking about these things from an American perspective, but you're going to have to go to India if you really want to destroy the caste system. Weird take. Apparently, Darkseid Energy turns Krypton into a caste system that's still a doomed planet. How did young Kal-El escape and make it to Earth? Don't know. I imagine that gets wrapped up around issue 6 when we finish all the Krypton backstory that Jason Aaron is fleshing out. That will make this comic book absolutely unbearable, at least for me, because I dislike Krypton more than anything that you could probably imagine. I would rather have herpes than have to read a Krypton story. When we get to Earth, at least what has happened to Kal-El's parents when he was on Krypton and being part of the slave caste gives him some sort of motivation, because he ends up in Brazil. There are some diamond mines down there, and there's asbestos in these mines. And the Lazarus Corporation, they don't care. I know you'll be very surprised to find out that the villain in Absolute Superman is corporate greed. The Lazarus Corporation have people all over the world in indentured servitude, working these diamond mines, throwing them down into very unhospitable, unhealthy conditions. I hope that, by issue 6, Superman starts flying to China and maybe some of the places in Asia and starts freeing kids from making high-priced sneakers, like in sweatshops and stuff like that. He'll be a real man of the people. Now, of course, while I'm certainly against blood diamonds, and I don't support kids working in sweatshops, I think that stuff's pretty evil. But I also do think those types of issues are beneath a character like Superman. You have a Superman out there, you probably want him saving somebody that's about to be killed. If there's some aliens, you want him to go up there and fight them. If somebody fell off a building, he should use his unique ability to fly and save them. I believe as a human race, we should be able to eradicate indentured servitude and stop diamond mining around the world. But we got a serious point to make about slavery and diamond mines here. Blood diamonds are bad, and corporate greed is even worse. And then we get to really meet Kal-El the first time. I don't know that he's an adult. He seems to be some type of young man, maybe 17, 18 years old. And he's just kind of weird. Like when he's looking at this dude, his eyes are turning blue, and he doesn't even see his face. He's looking at his skeleton and stuff. And I could see like people that are big fans of Man of Steel by Zack Snyder thinking this book is the fucking bee's knees, because it's more of a take like that on Superman, which really isn't even Superman. If you like that character, you can go over to Marvel and read Hyperion stories, which is basically what Zack Snyder and I would say Jason Aaron's Absolute Superman, those are more akin to that character. But he's just kind of aloof and weird. He cleans out the asbestos using his super breath. He just kind of like sucks it out there like a golf ball through a garden hose, spits it out. And then he also takes all the coal and cracks it for diamonds, so the workers don't have to work in those inhospitable conditions. But that does bring out the Lazarus Corporation. And despite the fact that their productivity and efficiency and process would have been sped up by orders of magnitude, probably like 5,000% more efficient diamond mining going on down here in Brazil, they are pissed off, and they send in the peacemakers. And basically everybody's a peacemaker, and we finally see Superman. He no longer wants to run. He no longer wants to hide. and you can see his weird lava arms as he kind of punches people and throws them around, probably murders a couple of guys, but he's definitely not nearly as deadly as Absolute Batman. That dude will kill anybody for any reason at any time, and he'll be justified to do it. That's why I like Absolute Batman. He's like, fuck it, I'm going to kill you, and I don't even have to explain why. So this Superman ends up fighting everybody. They got tanks coming in. Of course, corporations have tanks and have entire armored brigades and stuff, but it is comic books. You do have to suspend your disbelief just a little bit when you're reading comic books, especially superhero comic books. But he's taking them all out, and then we get the big introduction and the naming of the character. It turns out Lois Lane, no longer the world's greatest reporter. She's now some type of mercenary, perhaps ex-special forces, working for the Lazarus Corporation, and they have some type of technology. I'm not certain why they have it. They might have explained it there, but I was, admittedly, towards the end of this book, really glossed over, be like, I can't believe this is what this book is. Then she ends up capturing him, and she's like, move, and I fry your face, Superman. This is Agent Lois Lane. And she's got him in custody because Lois Lane will always be the best thing at whatever she is. Now, I imagine these two do eventually fall in love, because I do think Lois Lane and Clark Kent's love, although he's not Clark Kent, he is Kal-El. He'll never be Clark Kent because the Kent's farm is owned by the Lazarus Corporation. We actually saw that in the prologue. I do believe Lois Lane and Kal-El will get together, and she'll realize he might not be the bad guy here. Yes, I do work for the greedy corporation, but I can be a better person, and maybe, just maybe, she'll start a blog, or perhaps even a Substack. And the real everyday folks out there will learn about the evils of corporate greed and slavery, because nobody agrees that that stuff's bad. These are all new, all different takes from Jason Aaron. And there's your version of Lois Lane. We also get to see a little peek of Brainiac. I will be very happy when the big bad villain in Absolute Superman becomes Brainiac and not corporate greed. I think that will be a nice change. Will I make it to there? I'm not really sure. I'm not certain that I will even continue reading this comic book. It feels like an enormous waste of time to me. I can see that it's going to go nowhere. It's not going to be popular. Within 9 months, you will see the sales dramatically decrease, interest wane, and people will continue on reading Superman, because Superman is a timeless character. He's not like Batman. He's not nearly that malleable. You can put him in lots of situations, but you really can't change him to that much of a degree. In my opinion, that's why it doesn't really work out. You can do it for a while, but it's not really a long-term thing. And I don't like Krypton. I could already see 6 more issues of that. I do not want to read Krypton. I can already see Jason Aaron throwing more and more modernity. This is him, being kind of more subtle about it. If you've read anything like Punisher or even Namor right now, it's only going to get worse and worse over time. It definitely feels like Batman Off-World is an enormous aberration for Jason Aaron these days. I'm probably a one and done on this comic book, but I will freely admit Jason Aaron isn't your run-of-the-mill hack writer. He's not a Colin Kelly and Jackson Lanzing. He's not Steve Fox. He's not Jadzia Axelrod. He's not Vita Ayala. He actually knows how to write a comic book story. He knows how to create motivations. He knows how to world build. He just happens to be building a world that I'm not terribly interested in. And I know exactly where he's going to take this, which I'm even less interested in. The only reason I would continue reading this is if I wanted to create more videos about it. But people will probably tell me if I need to do that anyway. So probably what I'm done on this one, I would give it like a 6 out of 10, 5.5 out of 10. Certainly a failure, but not nearly as bad as other things. Like The Ultimates is a way worse comic book, but I enjoy The Ultimates way more because it's actually having fun. This is very, very depressing, very, very serious, whereas The Ultimates is not serious at all. So I can enjoy that really stupid bad comic book more than I can enjoy this not very good comic book. Does that make any sense to you guys? Do I make any sense right now? But those are my feelings on Absolute Superman. It's a no bueno for me, not exactly something I'm interested in. Keeping helping of all the stuff that really turns me off about modern comic books, and an enormous waste of Rafa Sandoval's art. He should have been illustrating the Wonder Woman comic book. I think he would have done that much, much better. And this comic book probably didn't deserve or need a frontline artist on it. He probably could have put the dude, what is his name, Hayden Sherman from Wonder Woman on this book. He would have felt more at home. And the middle management, man, what a stupid line. I definitely want to hear from you guys, and I do appreciate that. If you would like more comic book reviews and discussions about not only Absolute Superman, but Absolute Batman, Absolute Wonder Woman, the entire Ultimate Universe, and all that stuff, we do have Think Critical Patreon, the best place to support Think Critical YouTube. There's a link in the video description. Lots of podcasts going on over there, and we talk about all these stuff every single week with our good friend Jim and have a gay old time, having fun talking about good and bad comic books. Hope to see you there very soon.